Hello, and welcome to the MMA Mic Drop Podcast. My name is Jade Bunky, and I'm joined by MMA Milo, who is not only an emerging MMA analyst, but also one of the world's top up-and-coming amateur surfers. And he has some big news to share with us, and we're going to talk about that later on in the show. But first, let's talk about UFC 306. It's going down at the Sphere. It's headlined by Sean O'Malley and Merab, and that should be an incredible fight. But the card has taken a little bit of heat for a couple of different reasons. Before we get into our picks and predictions, Milo, tell me how you're feeling about this card, what you're thinking, what grade would you give, and what fight are you most excited to watch?
I think it's a great card. There's some bad fights on it, but I'm mostly excited for the main event and then a couple other fights. But overall, I think I'm gonna give it maybe a C+.
C+. Okay, so let's reconcile that. You said it's a great card and there's some bad fights on it. Which is it?
It's great, but it's bad.
Is it great? Is it great because it's top heavy and then there's a fight on the main card that shouldn't be on the main card?
I think the main event is like a fight everybody's been looking forward to, so I think that's why.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying here because I am excited about this fight card. I am excited to see what it's going to look like in the Sphere. And I think, and I'm going to try to give a pretty balanced assessment. And don't get me wrong, I don't always give balanced assessments, but I think you really got to commend the UFC for trying this. I think it's bold. I think it's innovative. I think it's really cool that they're trying to do an event at the Sphere. I think that's amazing. So I think they deserve a ton of credit. One of my biggest problems, however, and this affects how I'm going to grade this card, there is no way that Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osbourne should be on the main card. Not only on a pay-per-view, they should be on a main card on a fight night card. That's disappointing. You have Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics. I mean, it's questionable if that should even be on a main card pay-per-view. I mean, that is going to be a great fight. I'm pretty pumped on that fight. So I understand what they're doing, putting on the main card. But if it was sandwiched by some well-known fighters or some more interesting fighters or something where there's a little more stakes, where there's some higher stakes, that would help me grade it a little higher. I'm with you. I mean, I'm giving it just a solid C. Because when you look at the first three fights, they're about as good as they can get for a pay-per-view, right? Merab versus Sean O'Malley, that's an insane matchup. You have Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso it's their third fight, but I'm actually pretty pumped on this one. And then Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes. I mean, they're starting it out about as well as you can, and the prelims are pretty solid. My other problem, however, is that there's only 10 fights, and it's just interesting what they're trying to do. I mean, I like what they're trying to do, but I think they've backed themselves in the corner by making this UFC Noche. I think that should have been a different event. I think this one should have just been about the Sphere, so your branding is focused just on the Sphere. Milo, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think they should have just done it based on the Sphere because is it some sort of Independence Day or something like that? Why is it? Is that what it is?
Yeah, and it's a celebration to Mexican culture and Hispanic contributions in mixed martial arts, which I think is a really cool thing to do and a smart thing to do from a branding perspective. I just don't think it should have been done at the Sphere. I don't think it had to be done on that particular date as well to make that tribute. And what you've done is you've backed yourself in the corner of what kind of fighters, do you want to stack your card up, because you're going to want to place a lot of Mexican fighters on the card as part of this overall tribute, right? So with that said, you're also going to take an advantage to make a more robust fight card, given that you probably want to manage costs, given that this card has cost, I don't know what the numbers are, like $17 million, something absurd, right, to produce this thing. And so you have to wonder about how many fighters are you going to have on the card? How are you going to, pay everybody? And you probably want more fighters with, some of their rookie contracts, so that some of whom that are at much lower cost.
Yeah.
With that said, there's some really young up and coming fighters that are incredible but they didn't put on this card. So it's a little clunky. So I'm excited to see it, but I'm also a little disappointed. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. But let's get right
I
into it.
agree.
Yeah, let's get right into it. First up, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. I've always have a problem pronouncing his last name, even though um,
Davos Philly.
yeah, even though I've said it a bunch of times before, I've been watching him fight forever. That last name is just difficult. But Milo, tell me who are you picking in this fight?
I've gone back and forth on this one. I think it's a 50-50 chance. If Sean catches him, he's gonna knock him out, but I think Merab's gonna run him over and probably win by submission in like fourth round.
Wow. Oh, really? So you think he's going to finish him? Do you think it's going to look a lot like that Peter Yan fight where Merab just was pushing him up against the cage, just wouldn't let him breathe, wouldn't give him an inch, really dominated?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's exactly what it's gonna be like.
Yeah, this fight was pretty tricky for me to pick as well, and I've gone back and forth. And if this fight took place a year ago, to me it would have been in Merab. But there's a couple things that we have to take into consideration. In Sean O'Malley's fight with Aljamain Sterling, he was a lot bigger than he used to be. He's not that skinny kid anymore. He also demonstrated exceptional lateral movement. He made it hard for Aljamain Sterling to close the distance. And I think Sean O'Malley is going to give himself a pretty good chance to win. Now, with that said, and this is the intriguing part. Can Merab close the distance? Because he's going to be relentless. But will he be relentless giving the potential injuries that he's been showing on Instagram, right? We've seen his arm. It looked like, he had staph infection, right? We know what that does to your energy. He also had a cut over his eye, which, okay, that healed up perfectly, but um, what you're missing a week or two from of heavy training, right when you're coming up to right in the prime time of your fight camp. So there's some questions. I don't think that the him drinking in Mexico thing was real. I think he was just doing a skit and so forth for entertainment.
Yeah.
Probably training down there. So I don't read too much into that, but there are a couple other things where I do consider I got to take into consideration of what is it going to do to Merab's gas tank, and what are the adjustments that Sean O'Malley has made over the last year or since his last fight with Aljamain Sterling, given that he made so many improvements up to that fight with Aljamain Sterling. So taking all those into consideration, I think Sean O'Malley's going to get him, and I think he's going to put him out in the fourth round. So give me Sean O'Malley, fourth round TKO.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. Milo, who are you picking in this fight?
Um, I think Valentina's coming up on age. She's probably pretty old now. Do you know how old she is?
36.
It's not that old. Hmm. I think I'm just gonna go with Alexa Grasso because she's younger.
I think it's interesting you say that, because that helped sway my pick given the age, because when you think about when fighters start to lose a little bit of speed, start to lose a little bit of athleticism, it's around that 34, 35 years of age, and Shevchenko's at 36. How do you think that this fight's going to end?
I think it's gonna go fifth round decision for Grasso.
Yeah. And you know what? It is too bad that, they're having this fight, when Shevchenko is 36, because the first fight, Alexa Grasso, she caught her, but I think, and I think it was a fourth round sub, but I thought Shevchenko was winning that fight. And despite what happened in that last fight, Shevchenko won. I thought Shevchenko won that fight, and I thought that was very clear. I thought she got completely robbed. So when you're looking at it, you're looking at a fight, somebody that should be 1-1 against Alexa Grasso, and who actually fought better through the majority of both fights, in my opinion. And so, you can make the argument Valentina Shevchenko's the better fighter, and the third time she's going to get her, but at age 36, and that's the thing that prevents me from taking her in this one. I think she could win, but I'm not picking her to win. I'm taking Alexa Grasso by decision. All right. Next up, we have Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes. Milo, give me your thoughts.
I think this is probably the first or second best fight on the card. Um, I I think everybody says Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu super good, which it is, but like I think Diego's is just as good. So I think Diego's gonna destroy him everywhere, even on the ground in like those transitions. I think he's probably gonna finish him in the second round.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because yeah, you're right. Brian Ortega, I mean, he's a grappler. He's an exceptional grappler, and that's what he does. He loses fights until the moment of opportunity comes, and then he snatches it, and he usually snatches a sub, usually out of nowhere, out of fights he's losing. And the question is, how's he going to do that against Diego Lopes? Even if he is a slightly better grappler, and we don't even know if he is, but what if he is? What if he's a better grappler? Um, Diego Lopes is going to be faster. Diego Lopes is going to be dominating him on the feet. I'm with you. I think Diego Lopes absolutely destroys Brian Ortega in this matchup. I think this is a really bad matchup for Brian Ortega. I think this is one of the worst matchups for Brian Ortega in this division. And I'm with you. I think it's going to be. I think Diego Lopes is going to get him. I think he's going to win by rear naked choke, and I think it's going to be he's going to hurt him on the feet. He's going to drop him. He might drop him in the first. He'll probably drop him in the second again, and then I think he's going to choke him out. So yeah, give me Diego Lopes by second round submission.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, now we have Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics. Now, this is one of those fights that I mentioned from the beginning. It's questionable if it should be on the main card of a pay-per-view. But despite that, this is a good fight. This fight might actually end up being fight of the night. This is an exciting fight, and that's where I don't have necessarily a big problem with it being on the main card. I mean, it would have been nice if they sandwiched it in with something else, but this fight's going to be exciting. I mean, Zellhuber, I mean, he's a good boxer. He's a technical boxer. He's got good range. And I look at Ribovics. I mean, he's got power. I mean, this dude hits hard. He can be wild at times. But I think, let's see. Zellhuber is the minus 225 favorite. One thing that keeps in mind, he lost in his debut to Trey Ogden, and it's still hard for me to get over that, despite how young he was there. I mean, I believe Zellhuber's 25 now. I believe he was like 23 in that loss, but I don't know how the younger, rangier guy loses to Trey Ogden, given Ogden's age and so forth. I think Ribovics is going to catch him. I think it's going to be back and forth. I think this fight will be absolute nuts. I think it's going to be crazy. Give me Ribovics by second round knockout.
I agree. I'm going to go Ribovics by first round knockout.
Oh, and you're taking the upside as well.
Yep.
All right. Opening the main card at the Sphere, one of the most significant moments in UFC history. Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osbourne. Milo.
Who?
Exactly. Ronaldo Rodriguez. Have you seen him fight?
No.
Do you want to see him fight?
He looks kind of scary, but no.
So this is the problem when you book a fight that nobody wants to see on the main card. I mean, look, I'm not even interested in this fight at all. I mean, look, Ode Osbourne, he's an average UFC fighter. He's not that great. He's not bad. He's 4-5. So you're opening the fight card with somebody with an under 5. He's 4-5 in the UFC. You're opening the fight card with somebody who has a losing record in the UFC. Rodriguez, he has one impressive win. I mean, his last fight was impressive. I don't know what he's going to do this time. I'm really not that interested in this fight overall. I mean, this is actually the worst fight on the entire card, and it's on the main card. I'm going to take Ronaldo by round TKO, but that's as much of a guess as anything because I don't really care about this fight. What do you think, Milo?
I think I'm going to go Ode by decision.
All right. Are you actually going to watch it, or is this where you're going to like take a break and?
Yeah, so we go to use the bathroom or go get something to eat.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Now it's funny because I think the this women's bantamweight bout should actually replace the Ronaldo Rodriguez Ode Osbourne bout because you have two ranked fighters, and let me just glance over. Yeah, 5 and 9, and I think it's a good matchup. Irene Aldana versus Norma Dumont. Aldana. I mean, really good kickboxer, really good boxer. Throws really straight shots. Very technical. She's coming off, a win, and that was a bounce back after her disastrous showing against Amanda Nunes, where she looked that where Amanda Nunes showed that there are just completely different levels to this game. Dumont, she's a solid fighter as well. She is. Let me just check the line. Okay, so she's actually the underdog. I'm a little surprised because Aldana is 36, and I think Dumont is 33. What I think is going to happen here, I think Aldana will have the better and crisper striking, but I think Dumont's going to be able to close the distance. I think she's going to clinch against the fence a lot. I think she'll get some takedowns once in a while. I think this is a good matchup. I don't think it's going to be the most exciting fight though. But give me Norma Dumont by a decision. What do you think?
I'm gonna go Irene by decision.
All right, all right. Next up, we have Manuel Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Now, earlier I mentioned that um, Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics might be the best fight on the card in terms of action. This fight might be the second best fight. This is exceptional matchmaking. Torres, he's 3-0 in the UFC, all three first round finishes. Contender series, first round finish. And you look at Bahamondes. I mean, this guy's a walking highlight reel. He's 4-2 in the UFC. He's a great kickboxer. He's really good at range. I mean, he beat in his last fight. He beat who did he beat? I think it's Yagos, which is a great win. I mean, this is going to be a good fight, and it really could go either way. Both guys can finish the other one, but give me Torres to get in there and to win a second round TKO.
I'm gonna go Ignacio by first round TKO.
Think he's going to do another head kick?
Yeah, the spinning head that
A
he did.
spinning head kick. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Very specific. All right. Before that, we have Yazmin Jauregui versus Caitlin Souza. Again, another good matchup. Yazmin has looked really good. She has one loss, not only in the UFC overall, and that was against Denise Gomez, who does have power. Caught her, she got clocked, she lost. But the rest of her time in the UFC, although it's been a pretty short reign, she's looked good. I mean, she's looked really good. I mean, she throws a lot of volume. She comes forward. She has pretty quick hands. She looks to be a pretty good athlete, and I think she's going to hand it to Souza. I think she's going to completely dominate. I don't think she's going to put her out though. I think she's going to dominate in a very lopsided decision. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm gonna go with her by decision.
All right. So two more fights. We have Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van. Again, really fun fight. So where this fight card lacked in terms of big star power outside of the top three fights, it does make up in good matchmaking because this should be a firefight. Joshua Van, I do think he's better everywhere though. I think he's a good all around solid fighter. I think he's only something like 24, 25 years old. He's incredibly young, and he's looked good. And I'm trying to think who was his one loss to. Let me just click on this. He had one. Oh, it was against Charles Johnson. I mean, and Johnson. I mean, he's a good fighter. He's lighting people up. So I don't, I don't
Hmm.
take anything negatively away. I don't take anything away from that. That would indicate Joshua Van would have a problem against Charez. Charez is tough, but I think Van is probably going to hand it to him. Give me Van by third round TKO in a very fun fight. But I think Charez is going to take a lot of damage. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm gonna go with Van by decision.
All right. Next up are the fight opening the early prelims. Paul Rojas Jr. versus Ariel Lang. Milo, who you taking in this one?
How do you say his name? Like Raul?
Oh, it's Raul Rosas Jr. That's like the easiest
Oh,
name.
okay.
You should be asking about the other guy.
It could be
The other,
like I didn't have a last name.
yeah.
That's crazy. I think I'm just gonna go with Raul Rosas Jr. by submission in the first round.
That's actually a pretty good guess, and this is, he's a big favorite on this. That's actually not showing what I'm looking at right now, the favorites, but I remember
Same.
pretty big favorite. So Paul Rojas Jr. I think is a little underrated, despite having the odds stacked in his favor. I'm talking about from the fan base. He has one loss, and he's taken a lot of heat for that. People don't realize the dude's only 19 years old, and I think in this fight he's going to manhandle a grown man because this guy has crazy levels of athleticism, has shown good composure, although he does come out pretty aggressively. Um, he is an incredible grappler. I think he is going to absolutely dominate this fight. I'd be shocked if it goes to the second round. This is the one. I think this one's rear naked choke. I think in the first round. Uh, I think Rojas is just absolutely going to own him in this fight. So give me Rojas by this first round submission. All right.
Yep.
Those are our picks for UFC 306. But now we're going to talk about our next we're going to engage in our next section, kicking it with Milo. So as I mentioned, as you've seen the clip, Milo is one of the top up and coming amateur surfers in the world. And I just noticed on Instagram last night, you've been selected for a spot at Prime, one of 12 kids for under 18. Tell me about that.
Yep.
And tell
Pretty. I was pretty stoked to get it because I didn't get it till a few days before, like I pay like a week before the competition, and usually you get it like a month before, so I didn't think I made it. So I was like stressing. I had no what to do, but luckily I just got it the other day, and now
yeah, and
I have a competition coming up pretty soon.
let's tell people what Prime is because Prime
So
is
yeah, it's like the top kids in the USA all get together and um they surf like spots in like Santa Cruz. We surf all over like across the coast.
and Prime is the highest level of amateur surfing or youth surfing before turning pro, and this is kind of the gateway to the pro tour, to the Olympics, and so forth. And so Prime is a big deal because last year, to let the viewers know, Milo finished second in an SSA, which used to be, the top
Yeah.
youth organization, until Prime. They've made it a little more formal, a little more structured. And you're in Prime West, right? There's a Prime West and there's a Prime East, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then each
How
one
that
has
works.
they select only 12
Like,
kids, right? For
yeah, to go up. Yeah.
yeah.
Like there's like 40 kids or something in it right now.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. Well, congratulations
Thank you.
to you on that. That's actually a pretty significant deal. Our final section is Kook of the Week, and I was actually going to make Hero of the Week this week because there was somebody that did something really impressive last week, and I'm trying to remember, and I just lost my train of thought. Milo, do you want to go with Kook of the Week or do you want to go with Hero of the Week?
Kook of the week.
All right.
Um. What wasn't there a judge that messed up a fight or
Oh yeah,
something?
that was a couple fights ago, but yeah, you can give him a kook of the week. It was the guy in
What fight was
what
that?
was it? Oh yeah, it was Tai Tuivasa. He went
Yeah.
he had it was a split decision where Tai Tuivasa lost clearly every round,
Yeah.
and I think there was one round in which you can make an argument. I think he won on one judge's scorecard, and they removed him. So yeah, that guy's
Yeah. Fired him on the spot. That's pretty funny.
yeah, absolutely. I completely lost my train of thought, so I'm going to give myself Kook of the Week for losing my train of uh, thought and absolutely
Nice.
disrupting the rhythm here. Um, anyways, that's all I have. Milo, do you have a last word?
Drop the mic.
We're out.